Hello, hello, hello. This is Truth Be Told. This is Dr. Walter Aka.
And Dr. Kyle Dumpert, back from the dead.
He's been busy. He's been busy. He's been trying to save the Bedford, PA, one tooth at a time.
Hey, man, let's not get started on Bedford, PA. I'm currently fighting the Bedford Township, so we can save that for another.
Oh boy. Every time I talk to you, you're fighting somebody, Kyle.
This whole Walter and I were talking about government overreach a little bit, and
There it is.
can't escape it in small towns either. But
Which is very weird to me. You would think
yeah,
that a small town they'd be like, "Hey, let's just everybody relax. We all know each other. Let's
you
just
think, you
keep your
think,
hands into your own pockets, and that's it."
yep, yep, yep.
Jesus. But anyway,
Yep.
man, yeah. So you and I were talking about dentistry, and we were talking about how things are changing.
Yep.
And we brought up the whole idea of AI, and I mean
Yep.
AI is huge. If you look in the stock market, Nvidia is like $4 trillion company. Meta has switched from metaverse to AI, and everybody's AI, right? I
Yep.
can't even Google now without some AI response.
Oh yeah, Google just installed Gemini on my phone to text back and forth with it.
There you go. So now you can text with an AI bot.
Yep,
And so you think going further along, AI is going to be everywhere. And guess what? It's reached dentistry.
it sure has.
And
Yeah.
so you have actually been playing around with the AI system and you actually have purchased the AI system. Can you explain to me what this AI system that you have is and how it works?
So
To
I
your
haven't
best of your
purchased it.
ability, by the
I've
way.
looked into it. I haven't purchased it yet. I'm still
Oh, okay.
waiting for some growth in the company, but there is some AI that I'm using in the practice already. Um, this isn't a shout out to any companies. I'm
No,
not.
we don't have to even say the name. They're not
Yeah,
paying us.
I'm going to say the name because it's still a good product, but
No, no, no.
we're
You don't
not
have to say
doing
the name, Kyle.
commercial
No one's
advertising.
paying me.
Might get paid. I'm not getting paid. So the AI that I use in the office, Dental Lab. Everybody knows Glidewell.
Yeah.
So the first introduction to AI in my office was their fast mill for milling zirconia crowns, and the AI in that system is basically designing crowns for you, reading the teeth next door, reading the occlusion. It gives you a pretty good initial design for a crown, and then I can tweak it how I want. But that is AI generating what that crown should look like.
So real quick, for those that don't know, a mill crown. So you have two options in dentistry now, pretty much, where you can have the crown sent to the lab, and the lab makes you the crown, or you can do it in office. And a lot of
Right,
dentists are doing it in office. And so before it used to be where the doctor would sit down and actually design the crown,
right,
right?
right,
And now you're saying AI is basically designing the crown roughly for you.
right, right.
Okay.
It's probably getting it on most of the cases 95% of the way there, and then there's just some little tweaks based on how you like it to fit, how you like it to look, but it's 95% of the way done for you already. So from the time I upload a 3D scan to the time I'm ready to hit the mill button, it's maybe 2 or 3 minutes
Wow.
to get that crown uh, designed the way I want to.
So has it made it more has it made you more efficient in the office?
Yes.
Okay.
Starting off, I worked at a couple offices. One had a Plan Mecha system, one had a Cerex system, and there was a lot more design involved in the crowns. But with Glidewell's AI tech in it, it's almost idiot proof. I'd say with how good it designs things. Now, once you get into multiple units or bridges or anterior stuff, that's a little bit takes a little bit more time to design things, and a lot of times for complicated stuff you can get on the helpline and a human will assist, but for most posterior things it reads the surrounding teeth and does a real nice job. So that's the initial AI that's in my office. But the system I was looking at, and this seems to be a growing theme, is using AI for reading radiographs. So that's primarily what Walter and I were going to talk about today. There is a company out there that uh, basically will read all of your bite wing and periapical radiographs, and they compare it to their database. They don't read it. They just highlight different areas of, here's how much bone loss is in the area. Look at this area. There might be something going on as far as cavities, incipient caries, periapical pathology, things like that. So it highlights that area to pull your eye to it, and then you can make your own clinical judgment of, is this something I should do something about, or is this something else? So the benefit there, especially if you're running a busy office, I'm checking 3 hygienists, I'm running 2 of my own chairs, to sit down and read radiographs as soon as you walk in the hygiene room, it's things get missed. We're all human. You check the radiographs at the end of the day and shoot, I didn't see that. Call the patient. Hey, just want to let you know, I saw this. I was reviewing things. So to have a system in your office that can basically pull your eye to areas of attention, I think is a definite, almost game changer for dentistry, and not just dentistry, but radiology in general.
But okay, so let's talk about some of the positives and we'll talk about negatives that you see.
Yep.
So the positives is it saves you time.
Yep.
It allows you to kind of catch more.
Right.
Right. Another thing that you would say is it allows you to kind of market to the patient a lot easier, right? Be able to get the patient to buy into whatever treatment you're going to say you're going to do, right? Explain that more. How you see that happening.
Traditional dentistry before technology would be looking in a patient's mouth and saying, hey, you've got a cracked tooth, or hey, you've got a cavity here. Patient has to trust you on that. Now with intraoral cameras, you take a picture and you say to the patient, what do you see? Oh, I see that huge black ugly metal filling that's cracking apart. Yep. It needs a crown. Yeah, I can see that. That makes sense. Now with AI, x-rays, patients don't really know what they're looking at unless we're explaining it to them. Now with AI reading radiographs and pointing things out, you can say to the patient, see right here, this area lit up with the AI reading it. I agree with it. There's a problem here. We need to get this taken care of.
So how does it show up? How does it show up to the patient?
They show up on the x-rays through different color coded schemes.
Okay.
So it'll put a colored circle around cavities. Let's say it's a shade of green. Around periapical pathology, let's say it's a shade of red that they highlight that area. So it allows you to not only say to the patient, I read your x-ray and this is what I'm seeing. It's, I uploaded this to an AI system and this is what it's pointing out. And I agree with it. This is an area of concern.
Okay. So right now, are we using it to diagnose and say this is a cavity for sure? Or is this more of like an aid to say, hey, patient, we're gonna use this almost like marketing? How are they telling you how to use it? Are they telling you to say, hey, this is a cavity, this definitely works, this is diagnosis? Or are they using it to say, hey, now you're able to kind of market more for fillings, crowns, whatever it may be?
I think it depends on your aggressiveness as a dentist, and
Okay.
we all
What does that
are.
mean?
So there are some dentists, and it's almost like we were taught for our boards, is you want to find a cavity that has just crossed that DEJ, dento-enamel junction. A lot of times in my office, if I see that on an x-ray now, I'm monitoring them. Let's give you some fluoride. Let's see how you do with improved hygiene. Because once we touch the tooth, that's a patient for a dental cripple for life. That filling is eventually going to need to be replaced. Gets bigger. So some people could use it as, look, this lit up. We got to do something about it. Well, others can say, this lit up. I agree, it's an area of concern, but it's not really big enough that I'm willing to do something about it right now. We can watch it. So it all depends on the individual dentist. There's definitely some opportunity to take advantage of it to sell more dentistry, if that is the treating dentist's philosophy. But I'd like to think that the vast majority of dentists out there are really out to help people. So they would use this as a tool to, one, educate the patient, and two, you know, help do treatment that is actually needed and what they believe is needed.
So can the AI show up like false positives, meaning it will show you that there's something going on here, and then you, with your clinical eye, will look and say, "Oh, that's nothing. That's like a burnout or something."
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely possible.
Right.
So the theory behind this company is his wife had breast cancer, went to had a mammogram done. Radiologist read it, said, I don't see an issue here. Got a second opinion from another radiologist and said, yeah, there is something of concern here. So he was in tech, created this company, and he showed the same image to, I think, 100 radiologists without AI, and there was varying levels of, I don't see anything here, to this is something urgent, we need to treat this right away, to anything in the middle. When he used his program, and that program showed those same 100 radiologists, hey, look at this area, 100% of them agreed, yeah, we need to do something about this. So they're not saying this is a diagnostic tool that is telling you, that is taking away your clinical judgment. They're saying, look at this area and make your own decision from there.
But we can't lie and say that some dentists will just basically look at it and go, "Yep, you need to get a cavity. See, it
Correct.
tells us."
Correct.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are definitely, there are bad dentists out there, just
Right.
like there's bad everything else.
Right.
So yeah, you have to trust your dentist. Same with an intraoral picture. Same with a traditional radiograph. I mean,
Right.
dentists or anybody else can make up anything and say, see this? There's bone loss here, when there might not be. They can
Right.
say your bone should be, halfway up the enamel, and it's not. Now you're a millimeter below the CEJ.
Right.
You have perio. You need to get this treated. Patients really don't know if they don't do their own homework.
Right.
So that technology can still be abused. And before technology, dentists really had to be trusted because
Right.
there was nothing to show the patient. There was no way for them to really see the detail in their own mouths.
Right. When it comes to the actual system, it's
Hmm.
going off of what? Is it going? It can't be consistent X-rays, right? Because if you've been to any dentist, you'll see that assistants will take X-ray, and we have slanted X-rays and we have straight X-rays and this, and so you're feeding X-rays that are not consistent into this machine.
Right.
That to me is a problem, because we're not getting consistent X-rays for it to know what is consistently going to be caries, right?
Right. So it's using its entire database. So it's continuing to learn based on how many users are, you know, allowing their systems to be exposed to this AI to read it. So it's continuing to grow and improve and get better at what it's doing. But yeah, same as with a set of human eyes looking at an overlapped X-ray, or foreshortened or elongated, or the assistant forgot to tell the patient to take their earrings out, and there's all kind of reasons that we can't read radiographs either. So the
Right.
same limitations are going to apply to AI. However, they describe it as, and again, my numbers are off here, but let's say the human eye can see 10 different shades of gray. AI can see 100,000 shades of gray. So it
Mm.
can pick up one thing. We're limited to what our personal eyesight is, what the resolution is on a computer screen.
Right.
AI, it reads zeros and ones and reads the data. So it can see a lot more detail than what we can see with our own personal limitations. So there's where I see the plus. There's been a lot of times where I look at a bite wing and I say, I don't see anything here. But I look in the mouth and I see, you know, dark caries interproximal in somebody's mouth, and you drill it out and the thing's blown out. Why didn't that show up on the X-ray? Well, maybe it was the angle of the X-ray. Maybe it was my eye couldn't see that shade of gray, and they had more dense tooth everywhere else, or
Well,
any number of
exposure is another discussion
exposure.
too.
Right. So the reason I haven't signed up for them yet, they're strictly, as of the last time I checked, which was probably 6 months ago, they were strictly intraoral X-rays only, so periapicals and bite wings. I alternate between intraoral bite wings and extraoral bite wings. So they weren't reading pans, they weren't reading extraoral bite wings, definitely weren't reading cone beam X-rays.
CBCT, yeah.
Yep. So for my data set, I don't take full mouth series with intraoral photos or intraoral. Too time consuming, and
Right.
I know Perio does a lot of that of full mouth series, and there's still a lot of dentists that do full mouth series.
A lot of dentists do full mouth series. For
Yeah.
us, we pretty much, I mean, we focus more now on panos and maybe CVCTs more than bite wings. The only time I think of bite wings or PAs are individual teeth and crown lengthenings. That's when I would consider both, just for approximation of roots and so forth. So here's another question, right? Who's training the AI? Dentists are training the AI. Right. So if they have a bunch of dentists who are aggressive with diagnosis, the AI is going to be aggressive with diagnosis. Right. So I wonder how they're actually making sure that they get a kind of a balanced scale of dentists to train the AI. You know what I mean?
And I think that comes back to clinical judgment, where it's not saying do a filling here or do a root canal here. It's saying this is an area where the radiopacity or radiolucency doesn't match what it should be, what we think it should be for this area. Why don't you look a little bit at this spot and use your own clinical judgment?
And then the next question is, for me, I'm paranoid nowadays. I have kids, so I'm paranoid about everything. And so my information is the one thing that I'm always just like, I got to keep my information protected, right? So every time you download onto this program, that means you're sharing patients' information.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we have to start now doing consent forms to take X-rays and share it with the AI?
That's a good question. That is, how far does HIPAA extend?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it comes to the patient's name is on the X-ray.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure. I know the American Dental Association has, they are coming up with standards for AI. So they are currently, I just pulled this up before.
Yeah.
There's a public review and comment period until September 25th for all interested parties review of dental standards for AI and dentistry.
And then 17 years later, they'll come up with an idea.
Right.
Right. They'll be like, it's not good. After we had multiple incidents, we've decided it's not good. It's like the Terminator comes, and then the ADA is like, guys, Terminator's not good, guys.
They're not known for being cutting edge with recommendations, I would say.
Kyle, they're not known for being in the same century with recommendations. Let's be honest. They're probably still reviewing intraoral pictures. Like, how do we feel about this, guys? Cone beams. Let's talk about that next century.
So, question for you as a specialist. Radiology is a specialty in dentistry. So with AI, radiology is reading radiographs. So AI is eventually going to get to the point where it can base its readings off of 100,000 radiographs, millions. In seconds or less. Where a radiologist, the brain just can't compute that much data that AI can do. So do you see radiology as a specialty that may not be here in the future?
Kyle, I see a lot of specialties that aren't going to be here in the future. Radiology, absolutely. That's easy. They're doing
Yeah,
that in medicine now, where
yeah,
they have AI basically reading stuff, and then one radiologist is confirming or denying. And
right,
that's it. How many? You don't need a radiologist to sit here like they used to, which would be they would be in a room, they would sit there for hours, and people would call them or send them emails and say, "Hey, what do you think?" And then they'll tell, let me write my report. You know,
right,
here's something. Here's something. I have a few mentees that asked me for recommendations.
right.
I literally have gone to Bard or any of the AI, Chat GPT, and I'm like, hey, Chat GPT, tell me, I want you to write me a recommendation, write me a letter, dental recommendation, and then I list all the things that I like about the person. And I
Yeah,
say, make it a 500-word recommendation. Bro, to this day, everybody just, yeah, this is incredible. Dr. Aka, thank you so much. You know how long it took me? 5 minutes. In the past, I would be here. I would have my
yeah,
wife read it. I would have this person, and that's what I'm getting at. After a while, you have to look at it and say what's actually efficient. And what's efficient is you understand that AI is going to just do it a lot faster.
yeah,
So why would a
yeah.
hospital whose job is to make as much money as possible keep radiologists around? Why? And
Right,
most I mean, let's be completely honest. Now that CBCTs are in the dental office, most dentists don't even refer to dental radiologists to read anything,
right,
right?
right.
They just
Yeah,
say, "Oh,
there are services that offer it
yeah,
that you can upload to, but legally, if you miss something, you can get into trouble with it. But I'd be curious to know what the percent of dentists that
right."
routinely take CBCTs are having a radiologist read those
I
down.
can tell you it's probably like close to zero. And the
Yeah,
reason why I say that is because a lot of dentists are skirting around the whole you're responsible for everything you take by just taking isolated areas.
right. Yeah,
Because if you don't take past the teeth and
right.
if you go into the joints and you see pathology in the joints, then you're responsible. But if I
Yep,
stay within the teeth, then I'm responsible for that part.
right,
I can
right,
say I only saw what was on the teeth.
right. Yep,
You see, and so a lot of dentists are skirting around by doing that.
yep.
I personally think, and this is where my conspiracy theory mind comes in.
There we
I
go.
personally think what we're doing, because we're teaching the AI to basically do a lot of our jobs. What happened in medicine years ago, right? They started doing nurse practitioners. They started doing physician's assistants.
Yep,
So when you go to an urgent care, you probably won't even see a physician. You'll see a PA or you'll see an NP, a nurse practitioner. You will
right,
never see an actual MD or DO,
right.
right? What's stopping corporations from basically saying, why do I need to hire all these dentists? I can just have one and then hire like that what the PA of dentistry or the NP of dentistry where they basically just do the fillings and do all the small things and then dentists just kind of okay, I'm going to supervise everybody.
Yeah.
What's stopping them from doing that? Because the
Well,
AI is going to market for you by telling
yep,
the patient, hey, this is a cavity. And then the dentist goes, yeah, that's a cavity. And then, oh, let me get my NP to come in here and or DP, we'll call it DP just for dentistry to make us feel special. But I'll bring that in there and then they're going to numb the patient or hygienists can numb the patient and then they're going to do the filling.
yep,
And most dentists now have it where they do the fill, you clean out the cavity and then someone else fills it anyway.
yep.
So what's
Right.
stopping somebody from just finishing the process and starting from beginning to end?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
Well,
work.
let's move it to our favorite subject with dental insurance.
Come on now.
So, yeah, and this has happened where dentists that are not of good character were submitting
You could call him
radiograph
shady. You're saying
shady
too many words.
shady dentists
Thank you.
were submitting the same radiograph for a root canal for multiple patients,
Okay.
and AI is reading our submissions of dental claims, X-rays, everything. So the insurance companies are on this
Yep.
because why hire a bunch of dentists that you know most of us look down upon these dentists that deny claims. So let's just have AI read the radiographs, like read the claims, And there, I think you can get into some legality because you're having an artificial intelligence dictate treatment for patients. Now
Well, are
that,
they? Are they? What if they say, "Oh no, our doctors review it before we send it out," even if it's not true? We have Dr. Smith sitting here, 97 years old, still working because he never saved for retirement, and
yeah,
and he's still sitting there, and they're like, "No, we hired him.
yeah,
He reviews it." How do you how
right.
do you how do you say he doesn't?
You can't. That's why
Right.
the issue there is the legality of it, where they can make it look legal, but
That's it.
you're not going to have, if you have one dentist on staff that you're using their license, one dentist, I guess, per state
Right.
to look over these things. There's no way that dentist can look over that information. So AI is almost dictating treatment,
Yes.
especially when it's care that says, you have to get approved by the insurance company before you can provide treatment. If you don't, they send you this letter of treatment is denied, and you can't charge it. We've all gotten those letters in the
Yep.
mail
Yep.
after we've done some treatment, and then contractually the dentist has to eat it
Yep.
and do work for free. So I see that as a bigger issue, that you don't have a dentist at least reviewing the claims anymore. You have AI reviewing claims. And that, I think, is a lot more dangerous.
Okay. Well, it's dangerous for the dentist, but what's dangerous for the patient? A dentist that has insurance reviewing their claim, or a dentist that's literally having AI tell it where cavities are, where you need to cut into a tooth.
It's all depends on who's directing the AI, who's typing into Bard. If the insurance company is saying, I want you to approve 65% of the claims coming in,
Right.
uh, the lowest 35%, I want you to deny.
Okay. Well,
Then,
that actually brings me back to another point too. Then, Kyle, you can set the sensitivity,
right. Yeah.
so you could set it where it's like 90%. This AI is going to always show you something on the computer, and
Right.
let it not be where the dentist is slow because it's September. They're
Yeah.
going to be like, see, yep, you need a cavity here, oh, you need a crown here, you need this and you need that, and patients are going to believe it because they don't know better and they trust us.
It's true.
Tell me
And
what
that's
I'm saying that's wrong here, man.
that you're, I'm starting to think you have a negative opinion of it, that all dentists are shady. Well,
I
I
have a
mean, it's up to
lot.
interpretation of the dentist. So
No,
my view is that most dentists are generally good, well-meaning people, that they'll look at that, and if they look at the screen and the AI says, pay attention to this, and the
right,
dentist believes it and says, okay, let's do it, and they
right,
drill into the tooth and they find nothing's there, like, oh, maybe I should dial back the settings on this one a little bit. I had to sacrifice a couple of teeth, but now I'm getting to know this program a little bit
right.
better, versus people saying, no, let's crank this up to the highest setting and we could really sell a lot of dentistry.
Kyle, Kyle, let me go ahead and defend myself here. Let me defend myself, okay? I try to be as a realist as possible. Okay. And
Okay.
there are different factors that go into my decisions. Not just, oh,
Okay.
I see this. There's a
Yeah.
lot of factors. There's tuition cost has gone up
Yeah.
and is going to continue to go up.
Yeah.
So you come out of school with a lot of money that you owe.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have companies and other dentists promising you the world.
Yeah.
And then these new graduates, they come in and they sit down and this company says, I just spent money on this program.
Right.
It better make me a return. I know, I get it that you may think that every dentist is meta and we have all this money to burn, but that's not the case. Right? Just like with anything, when you buy something, you have to use it.
Yeah.
It has to return it, a return on investment has to be there. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that all dentists are shady. I have a lot of friends who are dentists, and I don't believe that they're shady. Kyle, you're one of them. I've known you for a very long time. You're a good friend of mine. I do not believe that you are shady. But I do believe the system can
There is
create a
potential for
lot of,
abuse.
that's it. They can
Yeah.
create a lot of abuse. And we would not be intellectually honest if we don't mention that.
Right.
And if we don't mention that, then we're basically not being truthful.
So I saw some content the other day, a reel or
Okay.
something, uh, where a dentist was discussing, um, should you believe your dentist if they're telling you you have a bunch of cavities that need fillings? And he made the argument of, let's be honest, the last thing most general dentists want to do are class 2 composites. They're miserable, they're technique sensitive,
Right.
they're eh, they're not the most fun, exciting thing to do, which is why we can pawn them off on expanded function dental assistants um, or dental practitioners, whatever they're
Okay.
called. Uh, and honestly, fillings don't make you that much money. The margin on a filling after, if you're participating with an insurance company, there is not a lot of margin for profit with just doing fillings all day.
Right.
Things that are highly profitable in dentistry
Hmm.
is scaling and root plating,
Okay.
implants,
Right.
crowns. Now, if a
Right.
dentist is telling you every time you go in, hey, you need another crown, hey, you need
Mhm.
another crown, then you might consider maybe this dentist is trying to sell me something. But if they're telling you, if there's one dentist looking at your mouth saying, you don't need any cavities, you don't need any fillings, or the other dentist is saying, look, you have a couple of fillings, you have 2 or 3 fillings that you need to do. His argument was, I would believe the dentist that's telling you you have cavities that need filled versus the other dentist saying, no, nothing's wrong, because he might be waiting until they turn into something bigger that's more profitable that he can do the crown then, or he can do the root canal or something along those lines.
Well, that's a very convincing argument, but I'm going to give you another argument. Okay, I'm going to give you
Okay.
another. I want us to, and I wish maybe whoever's listening can do this for me, and I'll try to do this myself. I want us to look to see if we can go from 2000s to now. I
Mm-hmm.
want to see what it looks like if you plot it along a graph, the increase in crowns and inlays that have been fabricated once CIRAC and all those other instruments came into dental offices. I want to know if we've increased the amount of crowns we've been doing and if restorations, class 2s and class 1s and stuff, have decreased or increased at the same rate. Because that's when you will really know what dentists are doing.
Well, I think you know the answer to that one.
Well, Kyle, well, Kyle, the argument is that most dentists, and what you said is 100% correct, guys. Class 2 fillings are annoying. They don't really give you insurances, finding different ways to not pay you.
Uh,
Everything you're saying is correct. What I'm saying is now we're also turning around and saying that are we doing more crowns now? Because if we are, then we're basically making up the information. We're making
I,
up the difference.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying yes, we
Yeah,
are absolutely doing more crowns.
yeah, I know.
If you step in to a dentist's office who's been practicing the last 40 years,
Yeah,
that dentist or that office is generally a gold mine for the dentist buying it. Reason being, if they've
very
been
true.
practicing for 40 years, they were
Very true.
trained on amalgams,
That's
and
it.
there are huge amalgam buildups everywhere.
Yeah.
Amalgam is a good material. It lasts a long time,
Hmm.
but it also makes teeth prone to fracture.
Right.
And when you walk into an office like that for a dentist that is traditionally trained and didn't stay up with technology, or they're still prepping 2 millimeter deep PFM crowns whenever they need to, uh, that is a gold mine of an office, because every emergency that comes through your door is a broken tooth, and
That's it.
it's, you need a crown, you need a crown, you take that intraoral picture, and the
Yeah.
patient says, yeah, I need a crown, that looks terrible, I broke my tooth, there's no tooth left. Yeah, I get it. So yeah, I absolutely, dentistry has changed where I think we are doing a lot more crowns than we used to, but whether that is we are doing over treatment, or maybe we're just offering better treatment because the technology has improved to allow us to offer a better product.
And I listen, and I'm not going either way. I really am not. All I'm doing is just looking at the facts and saying, where are we right now in the skew of everything, right?
Yeah.
With increase in corporations, and corporates are getting funded by venture capitalists and so forth.
Right.
And
Yeah.
venture capitalists want their money no matter what.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm going to buy you a CERAC, guess what you're doing? You're doing a lot of crowns. If
Yeah.
I'm going to
Oh yeah.
buy this AI, guess what you're doing? You're diagnosing more.
Yep.
And that's our discussion. I would be less concerned maybe with somebody like yourself who lives in a small town who's booked out 6 months. You know what I mean? Because you're probably like, look, this is not worth. You know what? Look,
Yep.
just let's watch that, or let's do. You know what I mean? Versus
Yep.
somebody in the city who has a dental office literally across the street from them, who is
Yeah.
competing with all these other doctors for patients. So every time a patient sits down, they want to do something.
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
another avenue of dentistry we have to talk about. Let's be
Yeah.
completely honest. We have to talk about these things.
Absolutely.
And right. And so with all that being said, is AI beneficial or not? Right. I tend to think that with everything in conclusion, everything together, AI is just like with anything. You have to be careful. If you're looking at it, and if you go to one dentist, one dentist tells you have 8 crowns that you need,
Mm-hmm.
you might want to go to another dentist and then let's see. But one thing that we said, and we've said this before too, is don't tell the new dentist what the previous dentist said,
Right.
because
Right.
they'll tell you have 7.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Just go in there and be like, I just want to get a second opinion.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then kind of compare and contrast, because we, just like the world, right? We have outliers on both avenues, right? The over treaters and the under treaters, like you were saying.
Right. Yep.
And then most of us fall kind of like in the middle where we
Right.
just do enough, right?
Right.
But I honestly think that we're shifting a little bit closer to the overtreaters. And the reason why I mentioned that is because I truly believe that money talks, and there's a lot more corporations. It used to be what, 25% of dentistry was corporations. Now we're probably at 30%, and it's going to go up to 50%
Yeah.
because, these companies are buying general dentist office like crazy.
Yeah.
So where do you think it's going to shift to?
So a different argument would
Yeah.
be the traditional, I think it was Reader's Digest study of they took the same model, same radiographs
Oh,
to
back in, yeah, I remember that.
100 different dentists, and they came up with 96 different treatment
That's
plans or
it. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So it could be there is too much personal opinion involved in
Mm.
diagnosing. So maybe this is beneficial uh, to patients where you take out the emotion, you take out the personal bias, and you
Hmm.
have a standardized. Granted, that turns us into mechanics instead of dentists or doctors, but you have a standardized. If the ADA comes out and says, AI is great, this is a way we can standardize treatment and get the same treatment plans for every patient. We recommend every office implement AI for reading radiographs for patient safety. Then it's a standardization where, just like McDonald's, any McDonald's you walk into, you have the same menu, same options. You go to Dr. John down the road, he says, this is your treatment plan. He spit it out with AI after reading radiographs. You go to Dr. Kim up the street. Well, holy crap, it's the same thing. I should get this done because those two doctors agreed on it, when it was actually AI that read it, and it's just been incorporated into all the offices now.
Well, so if that's the case, and I actually never thought about that kind of argument, because it's a legit argument. It will kind of bring more science into dentistry
Yeah.
versus art. It will bring more science into dentistry. But here's the question: would that mean that then insurance companies will say, "Well, if you guys all agree, why am I paying you differently?"
Would
Do
like
you
to,
see what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I honestly, that would I think the insurance companies would have a bigger issue with that standardization, because then they wouldn't have as much excuse to deny claims.
There you go.
If and that's part of the marketing of this AI company is if you get a denial from the insurance company, send them this printout. It has, this is the radiograph, has everything marked on it that supports in a science-backed way with AI reading this that supports the treatment that you provided. So it makes it harder for the insurance company to deny any claims whenever AI read your radiographs,
Right.
marked bone loss everywhere, marked calculus, marked caries, marked periapical pathology. You print out a report, send that to the insurance company, and it makes that very difficult for them to deny that care because you basically had a radiologist read your radiograph.
Well, so here's the problem with insurance, and you know we'll go for this, but like insurance will read one research, and they'll stick to that research, even if newer research debunks the previous research,
Yeah.
right? I remember with like we'll talk about like osteosurgery, AI, insurance will basically be like, well, if it's not on the molar, first molar, then we're going to deny it because we don't believe this research showed us that first molars are more prone to this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, but you see that vertical defect here on that premolar. And you're like, I, so how are you going to deny it just because it's not a molar? And then they always send it back to, oh, really? Yeah, yeah, it doesn't have to be the first molar. You know, there are other teeth in the mouth. So for me, I'm just looking at it and going like, what do you think is going to happen when we basically depend too much on this AI, right? Because insurance is going to depend too much on AI. Because first we're
Right.
going to use it against them, and then they're going
Right.
to get smart enough to say, well, if it doesn't have this, and this, then we're
Right.
going to deny it.
Well, and let's be
And then you
honest.
can't fudge it. You can't say all of a sudden it has it when insurance. I mean, AI is printing it out and telling you it doesn't
Let's be honest about insurance that they're really not looking out for what's best in the
at
patient.
all.
So
At
if
all.
they have written into their rules, we're only going to approve scaling and root planing when you have 8 millimeters of bone loss. That's the plan you signed up for. And if you have
That's it.
4 millimeters of bone loss, it doesn't matter. And we don't care.
That's it.
This is what our plan is and our policy is. And it might get specific like that for patients that, yeah, we really don't care what your this is what we're going to pay for based on our guidelines. If you don't meet our guidelines, feel free to get the treatment done, but we're not covering it.
Overall, do you think AI in dentistry is going to be a good thing or a bad thing?
Yeah, it initially I would say good thing, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing, not just with AI, but with a lot of other things.
True.
So I think it will be helpful to a point, but there will be a tipping point. What that is, when it will be, I don't know, but there will be a point when I think it takes away the clinical judgment of the dentist and it turns us into tooth mechanics and takes away our thinking power, just like cell phones have taken away, our personal memory. I mean, I can't
Right.
remember half the stuff as I used to.
I don't know your phone number.
Right, exactly. Yeah, a calculator that took away our ability to do
That's
mental
true.
math.
That's true.
Uh,
Maps. Remember?
yeah,
Yeah.
can't. A lot of
Google
people
Map.
can't read maps.
Yeah.
They're not even teaching cursive in school anymore. Kids can't write
I can
because
attest to that. I'm actually teaching my kid myself because
okay,
they're not
see?
teaching it in school at all. I had to
Right,
buy a cursive book,
yeah.
because
Lost art form.
they're
It's
not. Yeah.
antiquated now because kids don't have to write. They're on a keyboard all day.
That's it.
So I think there is a tipping point where um, people will start expecting, well, did you run it through AI to double check to make sure? Because humans have error where AI, you know, as it gets smarter, it can do a lot more mental processing than we ever could.
It's flawless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, this was great conversation. I wanted to just pull you to the side. You and I, we have these conversations, and I'm always like, oh, we should have recorded this.
Yep, yep,
So this
yep.
time we did. This time we
Yeah,
did. I hope we do more of these things. You know what I mean? But
absolutely.
yeah, I just think that it's just so crazy to just be so all in, because a lot of people I've heard are so much all in, and I'm like, wait a minute, we got to pause here and see what the good and bad is, right? And so
Right,
for you and I, we can have that discussion and say, okay, the good is this and the bad is that, and you gave
right.
great points that I never even thought about, you know what I mean, to make sure that you can say, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense,
Yeah,
but I think it's just a thought process. You have to think for yourself. And it's,
absolutely.
and that's also a dying art, by the way.
And as a patient, you have to get second opinions. You
I
have to
agree.
be with somebody you trust, because with any added tool that we use, there is the opportunity to exploit that for personal gain of the treating provider. So it's yeah, there's pros and cons to everything. So got to unfortunately be well versed in a lot of things to survive in the world.
Mic drop. That's it. Mic drop. You said it. Thank you so much, Dr. Dumpert. You're my man as always, man.
Thank you for having me back on. Look forward to the next one.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Truth Be Told. The opinions on this episode are just that, our opinions. Please consult your dental professional before taking any action with your dental health. If you have any questions about anything you heard on this episode, please contact us at Real Dentist with an S. That's REAL Dentist with an S at gmail.com. We would be very happy to return any message that we receive, because we love the communication that we have with our listeners.